get started. Welcome, you three. I'm just going to give a brief context overview of why we're here today. The WTS Toronto area chapter aims to further the development of the transportation industry through gender diversification within the local workforce. In an effort to promote gender diversity and attract young talent, WTS Toronto chapter established a scholarship, and it was open to any student who is registered full-time at a post-secondary institution in the Greater Toronto and Hamilton area, is pursuing a degree which will lead to a career focused on transportation, and has a demonstrable interest in promoting the advancement of gender diversity within the transportation industry. So this scholarship went out mid last year, and there were 5 recipients who were selected and announced at the WTS virtual conference in December. These recipients also received a complimentary WTS membership for the duration of the year, is my understanding, to facilitate their introduction to the industry and provide them with an opportunity to begin building their professional network. So we're going to go through a bit of an introduction of you all, just kind of giving a high level of your bios. Joanna Ilunga-Kapinga is a graduate student in the Master's of Science in Planning Programming at the University of Toronto. She has an honors Bachelor of Arts degree with distinction and double majored in peace, conflict, and justice studies and political science from the University of Toronto. Her specialties include policy development and analysis, project management, transportation and urban planning, research, analysis, stakeholder engagement, community building, and strategic planning. Joanna serves as the 2020-2021 Urban Land Institute representative for the second year cohort in the Geography and Planning Department on the ULI Student Committee, and has a is the compliance director for the G7 research group at the University of Toronto. Welcome, Joanna. Mahia Anhara is studying civil engineering with a focus in transportation at the University of Toronto. After completing her 3rd year, she is currently working as an engineering intern in the Vision Zero Projects Unit at the City of Toronto as a part of her professional experience here. Mahia wants to pursue a career in developing transportation systems that provide people from all walks of life with improved transit access and safer streets for biking and walking. So glad you could join us, Mahia. And Felita Ong. Felita is a University of Toronto student pursuing a Master's of Applied Science in Civil Engineering with a focus on transportation engineering. Felita is passionate about introducing young students to STEM, including transportation engineering. She was previously an instructor for the UBC Gearing Up Engineering Outreach, a nonprofit organization that promotes and teaches STEM to K-12 students throughout British Columbia, and is currently a high school mentor through the Women in Science and Engineering WISE of the U of T chapter. Great to have you join us as well, Felita. And so we're here today to hear more from you and your path to transportation, what has inspired you, and how WTS has influenced you over the past year.
Tell me about yourself and what you do. We can get started with Joanna first.
So since I last touched base with WTS last year around this time, I was a student at the Department of Geography and Planning. And since then I've graduated. So I've completed that. And I'm currently a community planner for B&A planning. And I'm kind of starting the ropes. And right now I'm doing a lot of land use projects, as well as just community development and planning tools. And that's what I'm currently up to right now.
Thank you, Joanna. Mahia?
Yep. Yeah, so I'm a fourth year civil engineering student at the University of Toronto. I'll actually be going into my fourth year starting September. Currently, I'm a summer intern at Arup as a transportation planning intern. So yeah, that's what's going on with me.
Thank you, Mahia. Felita, we can have you next.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm a master's student studying transportation engineering at the University of Toronto, and I'll be going into my second year starting this September, and my research focuses on travel demand modeling.
Thank you, Felita. Moving on to our second question. So I was looking at Joanna's profile, and Joanna, you mentioned that you were a geography student. So just out of curiosity, I wanted to ask you, what made you choose a career in transportation? Because from my understanding, it's unrelated, right?
Well, technically, well, they're closely related because before you plan any transportation project, you have to get like planners in mind. And obviously planners have to do a lot of things like surveying the area around where transit routes should be put, as well as like where is transit needed and the complications or kind of necessities of like neighborhoods and where they like our society most needs it. So in a way, when I first started out doing planning school, I was really curious about what constitutes as a very good city or a very bad city in that limelight. And I was thinking more in terms of the Western world as well as like comparing it to the global South. And I realized that nations around us that are most successful tend to have really good transportation systems. So if you're in a city that has really good transportation, oftentimes the ability to move trucks and imports and exports becomes extremely easy. So I was like, this is a very easy, not even an easy way, but I found it a way that I can make my contribution to the world and something that I really wanted to get a lot of information on. So I'm like, I want to become a planner and I want to learn the ropes and like kind of like see how you build a city and improve people's lives at the same time.
Thank you, Joanna. So you did your bachelor's in arts, right?
Yep.
So what made you choose urban planning?
So I took in my fourth year of undergrad, I took a cities course, and the course is just called Cities, and essentially we focus on different themes every week of something that happens to cities, or maybe it could be like city construction, or maybe like depending on our current era, different things that happen in cities. And we had a speaker come in, Professor Maddie Simiteki, which was the speaker at of that week in my class, and he did this amazing presentation on transportation and infrastructure and about how infrastructure has this huge impact on cities and different and I kind of like, we got talking and I asked him all these different questions about transportation and infrastructure, and it was probably the most enlightening conversation I've ever had with anybody. It's one of those moments where it's like, it sparks joy, and I'm glad I attended that course, because right after we had that conversation, the course ended, I went home, I Googled it, and I'm like, this is so great, this is so interesting, and because of that class, I'm here now.
Pretty cool. It reminds me of my high school time. Throughout my high school journey, I didn't consider engineering at all. And then come grade 12, and then I saw a role model myself. And so my dad was a civil engineer, but I never considered civil engineering. So I met like an EIT at that time when I was in grade 12, and I was like, oh, I can be in transportation. I could be an engineer. So yeah, having those role models are very important early on in your career. Thank you, Joanna.
Yes.
Moving on to our third question, I wanted to have this question for Mahia. Wanted to know how she heard about the scholarship. So Mahia, how did you hear about the scholarship?
I actually found out about it through the University of Toronto Engineering Department scholarship website. There they had listed this scholarship for the month of October, and I applied to it. Pretty simple.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Moving on to our fourth question. This question is for Felita. I wanted to ask you on how have you benefited with the scholarship?
Sure. So over the last year, I've definitely learned a lot and met many people who are passionate about transportation. through the professional development, mentorship, and networking events held by the chapter. And for instance, I attended one of the lunch and learns held just this summer, actually. And I was able to sort of see and apply or see what I learned in school be applied in the industry. And I'm also very grateful to have the chance to get to know the other scholarship recipients and also also hear about the interesting things that they're involved in the last year.
Congratulations, Felita, and congratulations to all receiving the scholarship for year 2020. Moving on to the fifth question. This question is for Joanna. I wanted to ask Joanna that do you have a mentor? Who's your favorite leader, if you do have a mentor?
So I don't have necessarily a favorite mentor, but I do have a favorite that I did meet through the WTS program and through all the events that we would have throughout the year. And it'd probably be Antoine Bailiff. And he's probably one of the most interesting person I've ever had the chance of connecting with. And oftentimes we'd have the little video sessions where you get put into groups and you introduce yourself and you get to know everybody. And I think that week, one of all our end of the goal missions for the day was like connect with somebody that you met throughout your session, share your email contact, like maybe grab, and obviously it's COVID, so we can't grab coffee, but grab kind of like a face-to-face Zoom meeting and get to know each other and go beyond the WTS program. So we definitely did that. We exchanged emails and he got back to me and we had our own Zoom session where we chatted and like I talked about my interests and he also talked about his, as well as he got another friend of his that's also part of WTS, or at least has been part of the network, to join in the conversation. And it was just very nice. It was great networking, but I also just got to know so much about him and kind of reap a lot of the benefits of what this program is about and getting to know everybody in our industry and just kind of building that network of people.
For sure, having mentors or having like motivational leaders really do help you just to get yourself motivated, especially in COVID times when our motivation energy is kind of low compared to regular days when you're going to the office, right? So yeah, thank you so much, Joanna. Back to you, Lindsay, for questions 6 to 9.
Okay, so I don't want to put any pressure on anyone, but do want to ask this question of Mahia. What are your future goals and aspirations now that you've received this scholarship and you're on your way in your education? What comes next?
So immediately next comes my fourth year. After I do my fourth year, I'm not fully sure if I want to do grad school or go into the industry right away, but definitely like in the future at some point, I want to work on transportation projects that, you know, make cities better places to live in. It's just such a field that you can work towards so many different goals, like meeting sustainability goals or equity and safety. And I want to be involved in projects like this that make people's life better.
Okay, glad to hear. And I completely agree with you that this industry is so expansive. There's so much that can be done and you can resolve so many issues, worldly issues that, trouble communities through providing transit, through providing transportation means that are more efficient. So I think you've gotten yourself into a good field along with the rest of you. And so, I see a lot of passion from everyone. I want to hone into that a little bit with you, Felita. What inspires and motivates you in what you're doing now and continuing on in this industry? We may have already mentioned it, but we'd like to hear your perspective.
Yeah, definitely. So for me, being a part of a community like the WTS Toronto chapter, a community that strives to solve transportation issues, to help advance the industry, and to create better transportation systems, provide transit systems, for instance, in cities, it's definitely a source of motivation. And aside from that, I think for me, the opportunity as a young engineer in the field is there's an opportunity for me to empower younger women or younger students to also pursue a career in transportation, and to see that having a career in transportation is an option, because as someone who entered the field without having any prior knowledge of the field or any personal connections to any transportation planner or engineer, I think that's very important. It's important to promote the field to younger kids. And aside from that, I think the support I receive from my friends and family is definitely another source of motivation for me to work hard and to also help advance the industry.
Great. I really enjoyed everything that you said, in particular, promoting more individuals into the field and into, I see you've sort of made yourself known in that area already with, your promoting of STEM and so forth to students. So keep that up. We need as many advocates as possible to, have that diversity and, just getting different perspectives in the industry. It's great to hear. Okay, so I'm going to open it up for the last two questions to ask everyone, what their thoughts are in these two areas. Any advice to those who have been hesitant to becoming a WTS member? Would you give them anything that would point them hopefully in the direction of WTS? Let's start with Felita.
Sure. I would say to reach out to one of the existing WTS members if you know any, or one of the WTS committees that interests you. And for me, I've personally asked some of the chapter members that I've met in the last year to share what they do and also their involvement with WTS. And they went the extra mile to respond. For example, I didn't know what a rail engineer, I believe is what vehicle engineer, I believe is what Heather Aitken is working as. And she spent like a lot of her time explaining to me what she does. And I think that's very generous of her. And it's also very helpful for a young person like me who's just starting out in the industry to learn from the rest of them WTS members who've been in the industry longer than I have. And I think it's a very friendly and very supportive community, and I can definitely feel like I'm a part of something great. So, yeah.
All right.
Great, thank you. I would really like to add, Heather was our scholarship recipient back in 2015. So you guys are the next generation, and you can be the Heather that helped Felita moving forward.
Glad to hear. Mahia, what are your thoughts on this?
I think WTS is a great community. Just starting from like when I attended the WTS conference, I found it so inspiring, and like I still remember it. And then followed by that, I got the opportunity to attend some mentorship events, and those are really robust the way they're set up. I got to learn about personal branding, how to come up with my elevator pitch, and they're such great professional tools. And also, I got to really expand my professional network through WTS. On the more fun side, I got to be a part of a book club. discussion, which was a lot of fun. It was a great conversation with so many different women. Yeah, so I've had a great time with the WTS so far, and would really highly recommend it to anyone who's interested.
Great. Yeah, the services that are provided and the networking opportunities are just phenomenal at WTS. So I'm glad you got a chance to experience that over the past little while. And Joanna, last but not least,
Similarly to
thoughts?
everybody else, just feeding on, I think it's a great program, and even just a great bunch of people who, out of their own like voluntary will, meet up and talk and discuss and try to improve our industry and every measure in it. And I even think, even in an increased like digital world that we were in the last year and a half, just to kind of meet up and be able to network and talk to people was a great opportunity. And I know a lot of people's fears was like, usually like we go out to all these events and we do things, but because of like the circumstances of our current world, we weren't able to do that. But being able to meet up with people who have common interests and just kind of share your ideas on what you're doing really gave a lot of perspective, and it gave you something to look forward to. And I know a lot of people who, even at the time, they were in different cities, and we were talking one time and they were like, usually I wouldn't have the chance to do this because you're running after work, you don't have the time. But the fact that it's at home and you could easily join made it a lot more accessible for a lot of more people. And you were talking to people from different cities doing great work that you had never heard about. So I definitely think everyone should try, if that was like your last hesitation, like you can easily fit into your schedule and you can go in from anywhere and meet all these incredible people across the country.
Great. Yeah, we've learned a whole lot of things during this pandemic period as a silver lining to the negative aspects. We've learned how to communicate in all sorts of different ways now. So, you know, WTS was able to use quite a bit of that to keep everyone engaged, which is great. Okay, so now we're just going to open it up for our last question here on any last remaining thoughts. We really wanted to give an opportunity to you as the recipients of this scholarship to have the last word, and, you know, let us know your thoughts on whether it be the scholarship, your careers, the transportation industry, or WTS, and what this scholarship means to you. Let us try a different order here. So we'll go with Mahia.
Okay. I guess for last thoughts, definitely applying to the scholarship was one of the best decisions. It's such a supportive community at WTS, and you know they really help you know put you forward in your career journey, I guess. Let's see. Anything
I know
else?
this is a tough one.
Yeah, definitely. I'm very grateful for such amazing opportunities that WTS has given, and I've definitely enjoyed the mentorship program that we got to be a part of as scholarship recipients. We got to learn about the other scholarship recipients and also about the mentors. We call them buddies. Got to learn about Heather, Bryn, and Eva, and they've given us some great advice for advancing our careers, and just you know, any questions I've had, you know, they've like been very generous with their time in answering them. Yeah.
You continue on as a member?
Yes, of course. Yes.
Okay, there we go. Excellent.
I would definitely want to continue on as a member.
Great to hear. Okay, Joanna, how about you?
I definitely agree. I think it is a very nurturing community, and even all like the other recipients, I think we've all been nurtured and cared for, and I think we were very celebrated, especially during this year. And it was a tough year at that, but like I felt so loved and paid attention to, and it was consecutively. It wasn't like like you were there and then it was forgotten. It was people checking up on you and making sure you progress, as well as like if you needed help or assistance, it was very much there. And I'm very happy and even grateful and humbled that I was given that opportunity. And I would honestly encourage anyone to apply. I think it was definitely great to even just meet so many people doing other work and in my field that like usually I don't get the opportunity to meet. So it was very good, and I don't regret it. So I just encourage everyone out to just apply for it, and it's just such a great program.
Great, and I'm gonna ask you the same question I asked Mahia, but in a different way. Thumbs up or down for continuing on as a
Of course, I'm
member?
continuing on. It was a great network, and like you just learn so many people who've gone through the different ropes of different things, and like it was even so like sometimes you have an advice that you'd want to ask, and somebody's probably gone through it, and the network was there to help you and give you advice on how to navigate those situations. It was great.
Good to hear. All right, Felita, you're up.
I don't have much to add to the to what Joanna and Mahia said, but I definitely want to say that I'm very grateful for all the opportunities that the scholarship has given me. And I'm also very, very grateful for the relationships I've been able to not only create, but also foster over the last year. And I hope to continue and be a part of WTS.
Good. So 5 stars, you're enrolling again. 1 star, you're not.
5 stars, yes,
5
enrolling
stars.
again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Glad to hear. Okay, so that's really it on our part in terms of the questions that we have. I'm going to pass it back to Sarah, and she's going to give some closing remarks.
Thank you, Lindsay. So just wanted to add that this has been a collaboration between our scholarship committee and our communications committee to promote WTS student scholarship recipients for the year 2020. And congratulations to all of our WTS scholarship recipients. And thank you for taking the time out for an interview. We do encourage all of our students to apply and check for any updates and announcements on our WTS website. Thank you, everyone.